we're going to go down to South Carolina and talk with Patrick, atheist, he, him pronouns, wants to ask about how to get out of a faith mindset. So you're talking with Jim and SR. What's up, Patrick?
Hey, I've been listening to the Atheist Experience for like a few months, and I have to say y'all are awesome.
Thank you, man.
Thank you.
Appreciate that.
I love it. But I want to try to. I'm not sure how to get out of a faith mindset, and I'm trying to figure out how, for example, y'all got out of that, or
Yeah. Jim, do you want to go?
Yeah. You basically ask yourself, how do you know that? What makes that true? Over and over and over and over and over until you realize until you get to a point where you go, I don't care sometimes for some things. In philosophy, a proposition, you could take one of three stances to it. You can accept it as true, you can accept it as false, and you can say, I don't know. The entire Jim Barrows only fourth version of that is I don't care. It is true that someone is going to watch the Super Bowl. I don't care. But that's basically what you do is you ask yourself how you know that. And that's why you see a lot of atheists who are now what many people consider liberal were ones very conservative. That was me at one point. I was never anti-gay or anti-LGBTQ. I didn't think it was natural, but I wasn't against it either. Don't talk about cognitive dissonance. But that's basically how I became more liberal than I am. It's like, how do I know that? This is why I believe that, and none of these things are true. And once you upset the apple cart and start examining every apple, you find the ones with the worms in them, you throw them away. It is not something that is done overnight. It's something that is done constantly because they're constantly learning new things. A number of years ago, I was really into Renaissance swordplay, and I had come to a conclusion and had been that way for several years. That conclusion was supported by many friends who said, yes, that's true, up until the one guy said, no, that's not true, and then proceeded to demonstrate on my head. And in almost literal fashion. I mean, he demonstrated it wasn't true by actual swordplay. So it's not something you ever stop doing, because we're always learning new stuff, and you never stop examining the old stuff. But that's all I've ever been able to do is ask myself, how do I know that? Why do I think that's true?
Yeah, and my answer is going to be pretty similar, Patrick, because for the longest of times, while I definitely wouldn't have said I was a presuppositionalist. I definitely didn't hang out in those circles or pay attention to those arguments or anything. Like, my entire belief about God was smack dab in the middle of what I think people really mean when they say faith, which is it's just gotta be the case, man. I just accept it, right? And somebody comes along and says, well, back that up, justify it. And my response was, no, there's no justification because God has to be, man. God just has to be the case. It all is from God, or it just can't be. And then finally, one day somebody came along, and believe me, it did not sink in. Nothing changed the first time that I heard this. It took weeks and weeks of being of hearing this, of hearing, multiple people say no, yes, no, back and forth, a long time. But somebody came up one day and said, "Hey, man, couldn't you kind of just get to any conclusion with that?" And I was like, "I don't think so, man. It's gotta be God. No, 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 okay, no, no, that won't work because it has to be God. It just has to be. It couldn't be anything else." And then they were like, "Yeah, but couldn't that be the case with anything? Can't you get to any conclusion using that method? And if you know that that conclusion can reliably get you to absolutely contradictory conclusions, that method regularly leads to contradictory conclusions. It doesn't sound like a really good method to use. And so then that led me to the point of saying, well, shit, how do we figure this stuff out then? What are methods for coming to understandings? And one of the coolest things that I found, and one of the things that I always love to say to my theist friends out there, is you're already doing it. You're already using the methods that are demonstrably more reliable. And in fact, you use them way more often than you use this faith method. You really do. And if you just try to focus on those reliable methods that you're already using, that you agree work to your satisfaction, not to mine, not to the radical skeptics. No, no, sir, to you, Patrick. You agree these methodologies work reliably and you can demonstrate them to others. Just try to be as consistent as possible and use those methodologies in absolutely everything. Because at the end of the day, I think that's the way we're going to come to the most reliable conclusions. You know, it seems to work. Not saying it's always going to work, but so far, not bad, I guess. But we do have a couple of other calls, Patrick. But give us some thoughts real quick on that, and we'll wrap up with you and grab some of these others.
Okay, thank you so much. That's a very great answer.
Yeah,
I've heard a couple of that. So.
Yeah, and don't feel bad
Yeah.
if like 3 weeks from now, right? Like, you're carrying some super heavy object and, it just slips out of your grasp and it just barely misses your toe, and this thing would have like shattered your freaking foot. Don't feel bad if you just go like, "Oh my God, thank you, Jesus. The Lord and the angels are looking out for me. I have so much faith in you." Don't feel bad if that happens because like that's what we do as people. That's why we have for so long as a species talked about these bad methodologies that lead us to unreliable conclusions. That's why we have all these codifications of fallacies, is because they feel right. It feels so correct for us to be like, well, it has to be that. It's like, well, yeah, that just feels really good, man. And it's like, wait, no, hold up now. I'm questioning this. I shouldn't do that. Oh, stupid SR. No, man. It's going to take time. It's not going to be something that you get off this call and you just go, all right, never going to use that again. But starting this journey, I think it is how you're going to get to the place where you start having much more reliable methodologies. And I think you're going to feel better about that, man. I really do. So, but yeah, thanks so much. Seriously, it was a really good call.
Yeah, thank you. I did have another question, but I'll probably I might have to call back to that.
Yeah, I would love to hear it.
Yeah.
I would love to hear it, Patrick. But do call back. I won't be stingy with you. I will allow you to call into some of the other hosts. Just maybe not Johnny. He's, no, he's great. I'm just kidding. I love you, Johnny. But Patrick, seriously, thank you so much, brother. Do give us a call back in the future, and let's talk more about that. Let us know how the journey goes, man, because that's honestly, it's something that we don't always get to hear about, and could actually be extremely beneficial for a lot of our viewers and community members. So yeah, just let us know how this journey goes, man. And yeah, have a great rest of your day.